I'm really honored to now introduce this next guest. He is the Republican candidate for U.S. Congress, 11th District of Florida. And without any further ado, here is Eddie Adams, Jr.
Good afternoon. Freedom is not free, never has been free. It is the duty of every generation to fight for it, because the one generation that don't fight for freedom won't have it. We have come to a place in time where freedom is being taken for granted. We have people who are taking freedom for granted. Of all things, of all treasures, the one thing that we cannot take for granted is freedom. And as a black man, I know that to be a solid fact. In this country, I was given the opportunity today to talk to you about the Federal Reserve and war. Without the Federal Reserve, this country would not have entered any of the wars in which we have fought. In 1913, Europe was collapsing under the weight of their own central government. They came to the United States because they didn't have any money. In 1913, they created the Federal Reserve. 2 years later, 3 years later, we got involved in World War I. It's because the bankers saw an opportunity to make money. War is profitable. Every time our economy has got in the doldrums, we go to war. World War I, World War II. The economy was going through a recession. They needed the money, they needed the bankers, they needed a war. Preparation began for World War II. That's the process, that's what we go through. Every time this economy, which is cyclical, and everybody tells you that, the economy is cyclical. Every 20 years, we have a recession. Every 20 years, we have a war. Matter of fact, sometimes we have war, don't even call them war, because only the U.S. Congress can declare war. So that means officially we have not had a war since World War II. Everything else that's been decided and declared as a war were not wars. The President of the United States of America cannot declare war. Only the Congress. The Constitution, next to the Bible, is probably the best document ever written by man, because those are the laws, those are the rules, and those are the regulations by which this country has been the greatest power on earth for the last 200 years. So that's a hell of a document. We got to take in consideration, and we got to send people to Washington that actually runs this country by the rules, the regulation, the laws that's set up in the Constitution. It was a fabulous document when it was written, and it was a fabulous document yesterday, and it's going to be a fabulous document tomorrow. All we need is some people in Washington to understand that that's the rules. Those are the things that Congress, the President, the judges were sent up there to interpret, follow, and enforce. And every civil servant in the United States of America take an oath to defend and protect the Constitution. Not the folks, not the people, not the Fed, not any of those other man-made oligarchies that's presented before us as ruling bodies. You, the people, are the most strongest, benevolent force in the United States of America, because this country was made to be ruled by the people. At whatever point in time you decide you want to take your country back, we will do it. Hear, hear. At whatever point in time, I'm going to repeat myself, you decide you want to take your country back, you would do it. Everybody in Washington, D.C. who's elected by you are only visiting. We got people in Congress that have been there since the 50s. They never intended, when Jefferson and Washington and Franklin and those guys were writing these rules and regulations and determining that the folks would go to Washington and represent the people and go back and be part of the citizens that they're writing these rules and regulations for, would go up there and stay for 50 and 60 years. It was never intended. It was never intended or written in the Constitution for us to have career politicians. Because if you're a career politician, you're standing in Washington and you're basically in a big dome for the most part, and everybody is shouting at each other and only listening to the voices bouncing off the walls. They don't get your voice. They don't hear it. They only hear the people in Washington shouting. And as you know, if you ever hollered in a dome, you only hear voices bouncing around, and that's all they hear. We need real people in Washington that understands your plight, your problem, and the things that affect your lives every day. The Fed is an institution of bankers. I say that again. The Fed is the institution of bankers. Bankers have a pacific interest.
Making money.
Making money. That's it. It's about making money. The United States of America is the land of the free. We become the police of the world. We back to that war thing. Every time there's a conflict or there's an outgrowth or there's something that somebody don't want, they come to the United States of America and say, we need money to fight this problem. Now, it used to be a time 20, 30 years ago when that was a great consideration. But they created the UN. So now the United States of America, our taxpayers, our Federal Reserve now sends money through the Federal Reserve to protect and put out brush fires any place on the planet with your dollars. But the bankers make money. See, war is very profitable. That's where we started. That's where we're going to end up. At what point in time the people of the United States of America stand up and say we're not going to have the Fed taking our money, sending it all over the world so that they can make more money, we will stop this hypocrisy that we are in the middle of. Now, Ron Paul said in the Fed, he first said we must audit it. That's so we can at least know where the money go. And then when we find out where the money go, the people will be so upset that the end will be near. And I believe that.